Some of the ways we can incorporate these community experts into our programming. Travel, set up a mock model UN.
Cool.
I know, it's 5 minutes and 140 characters. Come on. Share your family history. My grandfather's brother's best friend's father shot the man who shot Billy Kid. Just congratulations on typing that out. Thank you for that.
All 140 characters.
Yeah. Hiking club. There was a library. It was on the middle of a developed land, and the developer was in court all the time, so they couldn't actually build the houses. But they agreed to sit there and do paths and hiking trails, and so the library checked out hiking trails. Create tabletop gaming groups. 20 and 30-somethings fellow nerds. Bike repair at the library. Movie programs, including marathons and dances.
That's cool. That's it.
Beer tasting. Textiles. Tap into clubs at the university programs for experts to lead the discussions. What do you see now if you go to X? Oral history of Chicago hardcore. All right. Creative writing. Lead a youth creative writing group. And luckily, most people are tweeting. All right. Having cooking expos with staff, petting zoos and video games, library Comic-Con. All right? Now, in the space of 15 minutes, with a group with diverse backgrounds, but all librarians, we have identified a huge pool of expertise, and we've started brainstorming how we could build programs around it. Imagine what you could do. Which one?
The 50 Shades of U.S. Presidents. Kennedy, FDR.
Oh, yeah. Imagine what you can do with a community full of lawyers and dancers and kids and Lego builders and whatever. Now, here's the next part of the question, right? Which is, okay, Dave, you've just made the library as all things to all people even worse, right? What's the difference if we do things like rowboat races at the library? Why is that a library program? If you do things like connecting game designers with the people, what they want to do, why should that happen at the library? Why should we do found materials races? Why is that a library? By the way, academic libraries, you say, oh, that's all public stuff. Are you kidding me? Like, you don't have students and professors and staff members with expertise and ideas? I was at Cornell and they talked about kayaking clubs, right? We have students, from 18 years old to 80 years old that need to do things after they're done studying. So this isn't just about what we can do in a public or a school library. Workshops about hip hop and Zumba on the grounds. I had one library that did story time yoga, right? So they did yoga, but then they invented poses like angry monster and sleeping cat and things. But here's where we make a switch, which is okay, Dave. I get it. We can do all this stuff with the community orientation, but here are the number one issues. How the hell do I know this person knows anything about this topic? They come in here and they say they want to do, Chicago history. How do I know they're not a loon? How do I know that they're not crazy? A lot of this is we get people who we know are great, but they don't want to stand up in front of a crowd. Or they don't want to have to be here every Thursday. Or what happens if we do this and no one shows up? Is this the first library program you've ever put on where no one's ever shown up? Better communities through chickens. For God's sake, save the salmon. All right. Love all these, but what about liability? What about management? Absolutely. Guess what? Now we talk about why this is a library activity, not just something random. We have institutions. We have space. We have codes. We have lots of things that we have to worry about. That's true because it's meant for civic and community safety as well as engagement. But why is it in a library? Because it's not just an activity. What is the focus and core of a librarian supposed to be doing? Anyone remember our mission? The mission of a librarian, and therefore the institutions they build called libraries, is to improve society through facilitating knowledge creation in our communities. So it's not just a matter of pure escapism, though people participating may do it as an escape. We do it with an eye towards learning. Because learning is at the core of every type of library. So while people come in, we don't necessarily have to give them a test at the end and say, did they pass this? Did they get this? We do have to think about, what are our outcomes? What should people be able to do based on this? What are the learning expectations? How can we make sure that this is a curriculum that has pace within it? The other thing is, as librarians, and this goes to that point about, well, how do we convince people to do this at our library because they're all fuddy-duddies and they just look at books and materials? Guess what? What we just did is collection development. Just like you look at a book or a book series or a journal or a database and you go through an evaluative process to find out, is it useful within your community? Does it complete our collection? Does it meet needs? How would we describe it? How would people find it? Yes, metadata, RDA, MARC, all that stuff. We need to apply those exact same skills to our community. We know that we have materials in our libraries that are crap. But rarely did we ever purchase them because they were crap. Right? So you're going to select and you're going to do your best, and you know what? Someone's going to get up and just that program's going to fail miserably. Oh, it's never happened before? We have materials that don't circulate? It's the same thing. The question doesn't become, oh God, why did we do that? The question is, Eli Nyberger told us way back in the first session is, how could we do that better the next time? And because the community member's part of it, right? So the gardening expert, we brought the gardening expert in and no one showed up. Does that gardening expert become pissed off because you wasted their time? No, they were part of the planning process. They have part of the responsibility. And then you sit down and say, how could we do this better, differently in the future? This turns into things like telescope kits and all this other stuff. And you don't do these things because they're cool and flashy. We definitely don't do these things because the library down the road did these things. If you plan innovative services by being the second to do anything, it's not an innovation plan. We do this because it's part and core of what our library does, and it's core to what we as librarians do, which is about knowledge creation. And guess what? We figured out, you know what people learn really well from? Books. For centuries and centuries, and today and in the future, people learn from books. Absolutely. You know what else? They learn from things that aren't books. They learn from 3D printers, and they learn how to fish with fishing poles. They learn how to do public speaking by getting up and speaking. If we're in the learning business, we are not in the learning through books business. We're in the learning business. And the tools we bring and the tools we have at our disposal, technology tools, traditional tools, physical spaces, community trust, all of those tools are to accomplish that purpose. So why not these? What does our community need to learn? And so the answer to how do we convince people to do this is we have them recognize that this is what we've always been doing. We're doing collection development. Catalogers should be part of this process as well as the reference librarians. Youth services librarians should be sitting right next to the people who do system design to do this activity, because all of them have something to contribute. All of them are part of it. This is core librarianship. Jamie LaRue, I mentioned in the introduction, he pushes and develops something called community reference. He takes librarians, he says, you go sit in the Chamber of Commerce. And the librarians, when Peter Bloomberg tried to do this in Salt Lake City, his librarians went, why? What am I going to do? I'm going to go sit in the Arts Council. Why? I'm going to go sit at the school board meeting? Why? Well, that's not librarianship. What am I supposed to do when I get there? He goes, have you ever done a reference interview? No. Yes. What do you do with a reference interview? Well, we listen, And we have a conversation. And once we feel we have something to contribute, we respond. So go to the board meeting, listen for a year, for multiple sessions, and when you have something to contribute, contribute. That contribution, that's reference. So we're doing it out in the world. Turns out that works really well. I've met many a librarian who now actually are the presidents of chambers of commerce because they started in that process, right? Not just sitting, they become part of it. There are committees, Jamie will tell you the story, where the Chamber of Commerce committee wouldn't meet until the librarian showed up because then they knew they could get something done. Right? And it's another part, which is I want you to go sit in Chamber of Commerce, but then I want you to go to the Arts Council. Why? Because you're going to do collection development. So when the question comes up about, hey, I got a great idea, why don't we do a human library project? You can say, you know what, the museum that I was just sat in their meeting yesterday, they're doing a human library project. Let's connect them. That's core basic librarianship. So the strategy, the tactic, I should be sure, the tactic is, we always did this. This is basic librarianship. So you get the most fuddy-duddy person in the world and they say, why should we do baking pan collections? You go, no. We're expanding our collection. Could you help me with the mark record for a baking pan? Because then they go, mark record, right? And you say, we're going to do cooking, and then they say, oh, no, you can't do cooking. We don't have a license. Guess what? I was just sitting in at a grocery store the other day. They do, maybe we'll do the program in the grocery store.
Right.
Oh, we couldn't, and maybe we'll digitize it and put it up. Oh, we can't digitize things and put it up? Well, yeah. I was talking with a lawyer as part of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's willing to take a look at the release form. That's how you do it. It's not you against the world. And it's not you, the crazy eye leader, that goes back and says, I just found out there's a 3D printer, let's try it. First of all, while you're here, try it, play, have a great time. That's what craziness is all about. What librarianship, like any profession, should be about is frantic play and discovery followed by serious implementation and impact. And the way we do impact is not radically different. We all know, I've had conversations with like 4 folks here in Illinois, and I've talked to folks elsewhere, this session that goes with something like, you know what, gate counts are stupid. Counting the number of people walking to our building no longer expresses what we do. Guess what? Librarians have this thing where we talk about bibliometrics, where we talk about utilization and how materials connect. We know about how to assess, evaluate, add quantitative data where it's available. Let's turn it on ourselves. How many people use this human book in the human library? Right? So how, going back to the brief outline, and then we'll go from there, where we talked about, the tweet said, how do we handle being all things to all people? The answer is we are of the people, but we don't do everything that people want. We do the things that are coordinated and aligned with our mission of learning, and we do them with a strong sense of quality control that librarians have always been. And by the way, if you believe that librarians are involved in quality control or have an interest in quality, high quality, you cannot be unbiased. You have to have a vision of what is quality, what is better, where we're going. And so what I'm telling you is you've always done it. Now you do it with people and service and connect them. And if you get someone who says, I really want to talk about the Civil War, and they come up to you and they talk like this, and you're sitting there going, you're going to have to talk louder about the Civil War. And they go, okay, how about this? Then what you do in your mind is you say, maybe you doing a lecture is not the way to do it. Maybe we can start a discussion group. Maybe we can put together a kit. Maybe you can help us do a display. Maybe you can help us do, they had early literacy. I tell these stories. My point of all of this is that if you come to iLead and you hear the big heads, and we all get up here and we all tell you, well, it's about the community, me, community, and try something different. And every example we throw at you is kind of like, I get really annoyed by the annotated bibliography as future casting. You know, it's like, well, this person said this, and this person said this, and we just present you with lots of examples, baking pan collections, and this, and this, and this. That's the easy part. Coming up with cool ideas, you guys are brilliant at it. Turning it into something that changes your community for the better, turning it into something where core librarianship is there. And back to that other question about hiring more librarians, and librarians sit here. Of course you need librarians to do this. Or else it's just a room and people having fun, which is great, but that's not a library. What makes it a library isn't the books, and it isn't the stacks, and it isn't the word library. It's you folks doing your job. It's you folks doing your job on a porous collection that includes databases and materials and books and people and lawyers and students and genius ideas and fishing poles and rods. Not because that's the cool thing to do, but that's because that's the world we live in. And now we as librarians who have always wanted to embrace informal learning and help our communities through learning can do it with a radical different tool set. We can do it through portable video systems that we send out that not only can we capture librarians doing 10-second learning, we can capture the whole community doing 10-second learning episodes. Right? Not only can we do it by taking hotspots out and saying, hey, we're a hotspot, but going out and doing programming around and signing up for library cards, helping organize Minecraft. And we don't do Minecraft because it's cool and it'll get the kids in the door. We do it because they're learning fundamentals of interaction, social interaction cues. They're learning technology literacy skills, right? Now, does a kid come in and say, oh, goody, right? There's a great term in gamification. It's called chocolate-covered broccoli, right? Do we do it by a kid coming in and saying, all right, son, prepare to do Minecraft. There will be a test when you're done. Right? We don't do that, but we know what's happening is learning. And we watch it, and we observe it, and we figure out, and we as librarians need to figure out how to quantify it. And the way we sell it is we don't sell it as, hey, it's new and it's hip, or hey, it's something to get people in. Hey, it's the fad of the day. We do it by saying, this is what we've always done. If you bring in a new Elsevier database, and I bring in a knitter, we've done the same thing. It's still collection development. And so how do we change within this? We must first change ourselves. So, what I would like you to think about for a moment is I want to do one more thing. Tweetable. We started with libraries and books, and I asked you what you thought about with books. I now want you to tweet what word you associate with library. Librarians. I like that one. Sanctuary. Learn. Freedom. Community, passion, engagement. Interaction, unstoppable. Haven. Keep them coming. Now. Wow. We are sexy. Well, you are. How do we get our communities to do the same thing? And the answer is not by serving them well. The answer is not by looking at them as deficits that we can help. The answer is by asking them what their passion is and joining into their passion. The answer is not to serve a community, but to be a community. The answer as a librarian is not to sort and to fixate and to pick a winner in the medium war. The answer is to liberate and provide freedom and to allow our communities to look in their past and future and sharing. Libraries aren't doomed. Libraries aren't headed for the dustbins of history because librarians are more vital than ever. And it's not simply me saying that. And it's not simply a slogan we take out. It's because we're directly connected to the core of our communities. And when we reflect the community and it becomes so integral to them that to diminish the library is to diminish themselves because they see themselves, they own that service, they own that collection, they are the library, that's when we have succeeded. That's when we have a future. And ultimately, all of this play, which is fabulous, should be leading you to that question. Thank you very much. Ta-da. All right, we have